help you? Take your hand off me. Hi, my name is Scott Rogers. I'm a master instructor in Kyusho Jitsu pressure point fighting. In this series, we're going to cover advanced pressure point fighting. We're going to learn in motion from a fighting position how to break through our opponent's attacks, land our own pressure point strikes. In addition to that, we're going to learn how to combine them with joint locking and throwing techniques. Everything you learn in the martial arts is a piece of the puzzle, whether it's punching, kicking, throwing, or pressure points. You cannot defeat your opponent using just one alone. You need to mix them together and be proficient. In order to do that, you need to know how to flow from one technique to another. And in this program, we're going to cover that. In order to defend ourselves, there's only 3 positions that we need to train in. One position is the one that I'm standing in right now, which is relaxed. This is the way you are most of the time. If I'm facing Dusan and I'm here and he punches me, I have to defend from this position. So all of my attacks have to bring my hands up. If he comes in low, I have to defend from this position. If he throws a hook, I have to defend before I can attack. Now, sometimes you will not be standing in this position. You'll have a chance to raise your hands before the attack. If you do, that's a benefit to you, but it's not something you can always count on. That's when we go into what we call a fighting position. There's only 2 positions to use that make sense: the hands outside and the hands in the center. And I will explain the difference between the two. If I just stand in a basic boxing stance and he stands in front of me ready to punch, he has a choice to punch me straight, to punch me in a circle, to punch me going up. I have to determine what he's doing. If he's fast, that's going to be very difficult. If I choose to put my hands in this position, throw a circular punch, he's not going to throw this punch in a circle because he knows he can't hit me. So what I'm doing is telling him, go between my arms. And as soon as he does that, I'm prepared for it. So I've eliminated half of his punching. And now he can no longer throw circular punches, but he has to punch straight. Even better than that, though, is to take away his ability to throw straight punches. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If he can punch straight, that will be much faster than if I force him to constantly come around. So now, if I place my hands in the center, when he goes to punch very straight. He's not going to punch my hand, so he's going to go around my hand, which will make it easy for me to get inside on him and throw my attacks. Couple of important basics. No matter how advanced you are, you still need to cover these, is that your hands stay in your center line. Your center line is the imaginary line that runs from your nose down your center to your belly button. Your hands stay here, and they have to stay in his center line, your opponent. So if I'm facing him and he moves to the side, and I stay here, this is no good, because now he can attack in a straight motion. So when he moves, I move with him, move back the other way, and I stay. The second really, really important thing is I have to move forward. If I move backwards or I don't move, being able to defend against these punches becomes more difficult. So if he stays here and he throws a right punch and I stay here, if my hands don't work perfect, I'm going to get caught with that punch. But if he throws that same punch and I move in, I'm already inside the punching range. I'm also inside this punching range. It's going to be very hard for him to hit me. So basically what we're looking for is to stay in the center line, and we're looking for the opportunity to move forward. The last thing that I think about is blocking his hands. If my hands are in the middle and I move forward, the block will happen by itself. What that means is that in the beginning series, we learn to block with our hands. And that's good as a beginner, but as you get a little more advanced, we just move in and attack right away. The action of us moving in and our hands in the center will automatically block anything that's coming at us, pretty much making us impossible to hit, which is a good thing. Most common types of punches to be thrown are similar to boxing punches. We have the left jab, the straight right, hooks, and uppercuts. It's very rare for somebody in a self-defense or fighting situation to start throwing chops and spinning back fists. Usually you see that in a sporting type of event. So the punches we're going to learn to defend and we're going to concern ourselves with are those basic boxing type punches. So we're going to start with the left jab. If I face my opponent and my hands are up, In order for him to throw that punch, he has to step. That's another rule that we have to remember. If he's in his stance, stay there for a second, fighting position, and I'm here, and he can punch me without stepping, it's very difficult to defend that. Always force your opponent to take a step. So what you're going to react to is his step, not his hand. So when he takes his step, I take my step. All I did was look at my target, which is going to be the stomach 9 target, right next to the Adam's apple. We press it. When we hit it, it will either knock him completely out or stun him enough to allow us to follow up immediately. What I do is focus on that spot and move in. This hand picked off the punch as I went forward. I didn't mentally concentrate on blocking first and then hitting. I hit, and this hand just blocked by itself. It sounds a little strange, but if you step forward and your hands are in the proper position, your hands will move to defend. Because when your hands are in the middle and you see something coming on that side, your body naturally defends it. If I saw it coming on this side, it would defend on this side. So defense is not my concern at all. It's really offense. And if I'm very quick punch, I'll be in before his punch is even extended, which is preferably what I want to do. What we do with the drill is we start slow. We get a good distance, and we move forward, and we step back. Move forward. As soon as I see his foot move, I'm in there. I don't wait for him to land. As soon as he steps, he should be hit by the time his foot touches the floor. Once I get used to that, we move around slowly, and we move in. Move around, and move in. Different directions, he punches, move in. The most important thing is that I step forward every time. There's a tendency after 2 or 3 punches to just use your hands. If he was punching a little bit faster, there's a chance of me getting struck that way. I always want to move in. Whether I strike or whether throw your punch, I'm going for a grappling situation. I still want to move in. That's my safest place to be. In close range, I can strike him. It's a little more difficult for him to strike me. And as I move in, I'm moving behind my strike, which is that chop to the side of the neck. So watch one more time. He punches. I come in with my chop. Let's just turn for a second. I'm not going to hit him hard. I just want you to see his reaction. He's a little stunned. Right from there, it's very easy for me to bring him into an arm lock. So we're going to break that down slow and show you how to do that. We move in and we chop. From here, I let this come around and I hook it into my neck. I grab my wrist, step back, and I bring him down. All right, let's try that from a different direction. All right, he punches, we move in. Reach over, grab the arm, step back, bring him down. Once he's here, we can strike him or just pull him down to the ground and submit him this way with a joint lock. All right, so last time, he punches, chop, underneath, bring him down. From here I decide, do I want to drop him to the ground or do I want to continue by striking him or chopping him? All right. Second technique that we can use from the jab is once we get inside, we can sweep him down with an outside leg throw. So he throws his punch, I hit, and I sweep him. As soon as he hits the ground, we pin him, press behind the jaw at triple warmer 17 with our thumb, and push towards his nose. All right? Let's try it again slow. He throws his punch, we move in. We grab wherever we are. If he started pulling the punch back, it wouldn't matter. Step behind, hook the leg, push, pin our knee into his ribs, and with our thumb go behind the jaw, push his head to the ground. Always maintaining control of the arm. If the opponent gives you something or you take something, don't give it back. If he grabbed my wrist and I grabbed him, he doesn't get it back. I bring him down, I hit him, I do whatever. I don't let go to hit him with this hand. In this situation, once I'm here and he goes down, he's giving me his arm, he doesn't get it back. If I strike with this hand or I use my feet to kick. All right, come back up. Ready? We're going to do the same thing now. We have 2 techniques that we practice. We practiced the arm lock and we practiced the throw. We're going to move around like before in a little bit of freestyle, and I'm going to look for an opportunity to do one of those 2 techniques. So I face him. When he's ready, he punches. I move in, and I sweep. He comes back up. We move around some more. I move in, and I arm lock. I help him back up. We move around a little bit more. I wait. He wasn't close. I move in, and I sweep. Okay? Now, on that last one, I took a small step back. The reason was I wasn't prepared. So when he was here, I was a little too close. I got out of range. It's okay to move backwards to get out of range, but not to defend, meaning punch. You can't defend going backwards because then the next punch is going to hit you. If I need to completely move out of range, that's fine. Now when he comes after me, I move in. This is our left jab. The next technique we're going to defend is the right punch. When I say left and right, we're assuming that both parties have left leg in the front and they're punching accordingly. Obviously, if we switched, everything would be opposite. It would be a right jab and a left straight. Right now, we have the left side in the front. He punches straight with the right hand this way. This is what we want to defend. This is a little more dangerous than the left jab because if it does get through, there's a lot more power behind it. So we're going to take our same fighting position. Now, when he throws his punch this time, I don't want to chop this side of his neck because I'm leaving myself exposed. So this hand is going to shoot to palm under the jaw, stomach 5. Right, travel the eye down, right under the jaw with the palm strike. So when he throws his punch, I move in and I hit to that spot with my right hand protecting my face, just in case. If I do this really properly, throw your punch, I'm going to hit him before this punch extends. And when I strike him, that punch is done. Of course, nothing works that way in the real world, so we have the other hand up just in case. So now, as we face off, he moves in, I move in and strike. Okay? We move around a little bit, I move in and strike. Sorry, ready? Again. I move in and strike. Okay? Now, once we get the basics down where we can move in and hit him comfortably, we're going to take the left hand, we're going to lift it, circle around, and lock his shoulder. So we have him in a shoulder lock now. Now I can hold him. If he punches me with the other hand, I just lift the lock higher. Or I bring him to the mat. Okay, let's try that again from the other angle. So he throws his punch, I move in. He pretty much runs into the palm strike. Front hand, my left, I circle and I grab. If he's about to punch me, I lift it a little higher or I twist. Once he's on the mat, I could continue twisting to apply pressure this way. Or, just come back a little bit this way, I can mount him and apply more pressure if I want to make sure that he doesn't get away. It's a very painful lock. If you do it slowly so you don't injure your partner's shoulder. Ready? Show it one more time. All right, I'm here, I move in, circle, I make sure he feels it, I bring him down, squat down, and continue to twist till he taps. Let's come up. All right, second technique now. We stop the punch again. We slide to the wrist, and we turn it out. When we do this, let me see this hand. We're grabbing the heart 5 point and the lung 8 point, and we're digging our fingers in as best we can. This will give us a little more power and weaken his arm slightly. So he throws the punch, especially if I knock him back, I'll be able to catch it. Once I get into this position, this is what I call a power position because there's a lot of stuff I can do. I can press his wrist to bring him down. Once I press his wrist, I can bring him down to the mat. Or, once I get him to this position, we can use the triple warmer 11 point to rub and bring him down in an arm bar. So, as he throws his punch, I bring him over and I rub, bringing him face down and controlling him this way. All right. He throws his punch. From the same position, I can take his thumb, put it under his body, turn around so we can see, lift it up, and lock him in a wrist lock here. 2 hands if I need it. So basically what I do is I put him in a wrist lock, but he can't flip because my body's behind him. All right, so we'll show that one more time. Once we get him to here, we take our thumb and we grab his thumb and we grab the meat portion of his hand. We push it underneath, okay? And we apply pressure with our wrist. If he gives me a hard time, this is when I strike him on the temple points or behind the neck. Most of the time, though, if he tries to punch with that hand, I can just squeeze and stop him from moving completely. And I can pretty much control him this way or release him and throw him if I need be. All right? So let's try that one more time. So now we move in, we hit him, we bring him around. Now we decide, maybe I don't want to do any of that. Maybe I just want to come up and kick him. Or maybe I just want to throw him. That's another decision, but I have time. The first 2 moves, 1, 2, I have no time. This move is quick. Now I think about what I know. What style do I do? What techniques am I comfortable with? I move right into it, and I have him. This is our right punch, and this is some of the techniques that we can use against it. The next common punch that could be thrown is a hook. It's not the most effective. The first two punches are more damaging and quicker, but a lot of people punch in a circular manner. We have two effective ways of dealing with this. The first one is from our fighting position, is using the double block. The second is to not block at all and just immediately strike. The way this works is that if a person's coming around and you shoot straight in, you're going to get there first. So if I'm here and he punches and I move in and hit him in the throat point over here, conception vessel 22, I'll knock him right out of the box. He won't be anywhere near me. Of course, I need to be fast and my timing has to be good on that one. That's why we train with both. So the first one we're going to do is from our regular fighting position. He comes in the circle, two hands will just block. So I'll go really slow, 1, 2. Now block is kind of the wrong word because I'm actually attacking the points on his arm. Let me see the other arm. I'm looking for the lung 5 point near the elbow joint, the lung 6 point in the center of the forearm, and the pericardium 2 point right in the center of the bicep. Now, being that he's punching me very fast, I can't pick which ones I'm going to hit. By using two hands to defend or strike, I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to hit at least one, if not both. So as I'm here, this time I hit his wrist and I hit the point on the bicep, which was fine. Once I make here, I follow up with my technique, which will be my chop to the side of the neck at the large intestine 18 point, directly center between the ear and the shoulder, and center from the front to the back. So dead straight. So as he throws his punch, 1, and chop across. Once I get him to this position, I grab his wrist and I bring him down. Once I get to that position, I have my choice of anything that I want to do. So we're here, I chop, I grab. From this position, I pass from one hand to the other, and I just step forward and bring him down. If I don't want to do that particular technique, and I decide I want to throw him, I walk behind, sweep him out, use my thumb behind triple warmer 17, behind the jaw, pin him to the ground. All right? So that one more time. He comes in with his hook, I defend, I strike, and I bring him down and pin him. If he's exceptionally slow, or if I see it coming, instead of placing two hands to defend, I immediately shoot into the neck. So I'm doing the same defense, but instead of coming to the side, one hand shoots towards his neck, and I'm aiming for the stomach 9 point. So as he comes in with his punch, I attack. From here, I could do any of the moves we did before, or I could just twist his neck and bring him over. Obviously, if you do a lot of joint locks in your style or in your system, that's what you'll follow with. If you do a lot of striking, that's what you'll follow with. So if he throws the hook, after I hit him, if I want to strike, I could come to the temple area with my palm, or I could come to the inside of his thigh point, dead center, spleen 11, and bring him across to set him up for a throw or another takedown. Ready? One more time with that one. All right, I hit, shoot across. If I want to follow up with another knee, we can hit the ribs, or we can continue by twisting his head, or one of the previous techniques that we've done. The other option is to immediately go for the strike, meaning forget that the arm is coming at all and just move right in and hit. This arm will be here to protect me, but it'll only protect me if I make contact with him, which means if I miss this, this won't be enough to stop the punch. This is the key. My front hand coming to his jaw stops that punch. This is here just to make sure that the hand doesn't touch me. All right, so let's switch sides for this one. So timing's important. He punches, I move in and hit him. Immediately, we follow up with the chop, so large intestine 18, or we follow up with a choking technique, or a throw, or a joint lock that we've shown before. But the key is speed. We're here, move in immediately. I don't want to hit him again, so I'll go a little slower. Once you strike him, that takes all the power out of this arm. It allows you to follow up with other techniques. This is our hook punch defense. We're going to concentrate now is how to defend against kicks. Most common kick thrown is going to be a front kick, shooting straight up the center. When I face my opponent, as he comes up with the kick, I'm going to shift in a circle away from him. Let's go on the other side so they can see the circle. All right, as he comes up, I shift and make him miss. While he's kicking, ready? I'm going to kick underneath the back of his leg. By doing that, when he puts his foot down, he's going to be extremely off balance. So he comes up with his kick, and I kick myself. From here, I would either move in with my hands to strike, or I would come with my own kick to either the bladder points, where your belly button is, or to the rib points on the side of the waist. So he comes in with his kick, shift, kick, and shoot up, or strike. If I kick this hard enough, he will fall. We're not going to do that because safety-wise I can injure him, but as I come around a really hard shot here, he can fall over backwards. So the follow-ups will be a little different for that. All right? So we'll go one more time, half speed, kick, shoot in for a strike, gallbladder 20, palm strike, perfect shot, give him a tap there, or follow up with your own kick or your own knee strike, possibly to the side of the leg, the gallbladder 31 point where your finger touches. That controls his entire balance. Second defense for the front kick, if you don't like the kick or your legs aren't that fast, is to use the rear hand and catch it. So we're going to step out and catch. He comes up, catch. From here, I can either sweep him down or turn a little bit. I could go into the stomach 11 and 12 points in the collarbone and press to bring him down. All right, so let's show them one more time. All right, so he comes up, I shift, press, bring him down. From this position, I can strike. I could go for a foot lock, right? I could go for a knee bar. There's tons of stuff that I can do. All right, let's try it one more. Let's do it from the other angle. All right, I move out, catch, fingers shoot in. Just look up so they can see it. Fingers shoot in to the collarbone and down, and control them. That's how we deal with front kicks. For the next kick we're going to defend is going to be the roundhouse kick. 80% of all kicks thrown in any fighting situation is a roundhouse kick. That's a statistic, which means it's very likely that that kick is going to be the kick of choice. Roundhouse kick, the good news is, comes around. The problem is sometimes it's going to come low, sometimes it's going to come high. Your defense will be slightly different. Let's do the one that comes to the waist or high first. And what we're going to do is actually catch it by moving in, and we're going to press to the throat point at CV22 to drop him to the ground quickly before he can counter or pull his leg. So as he throws his kick, don't do it yet, we're going to step forward to limit the power of the kick, circle the arm, catch it, fingers into the throat, press him to the ground. So we'll do the first one slow. We move in, catch it. Fingers immediately to the throat. If I wanted to hurt him, I would do it quick. And I just push. Bringing him down. Obviously, there's a lot of targets we could take from here, but we're not going to do that right now. Ready? Let's try that one more time. Come from the other angle. This way. All right. Now, if I stay here, throw your kick. This is going to hurt because I'm going to take the impact. Even if I catch it, not so good. Always move forward. I move in, I catch it. I took some impact, but it was nothing like it would have been at the end of the kick. Fingers into the throat point, bring him down, maintain control of the leg. From here, it would be very easy to shift into a grappling situation and pin his lower body. Right. Second defense, if he kicks a little bit lower. If he's coming low, do it slow. I'm not going to lean down and try to catch it. I'm going to take my front foot and stop it before it even starts. Then I'm going to throw my own kick to the bladder points. There are 3 points below the belly button in a straight line. Bladder 3, 4, and 5. So as we're here, 1, and throw my own kick up. All right, so one more time, he comes in, stop it, throw my own kick up the middle. If I decided I didn't want to throw the kick, I would stop it, twist his head, and go for a takedown or a throw. So that's one option. Let's try that one more time. I use my front foot, I stop him at the hip joint, twist him over, and follow up immediately. All right, so roundhouse kick. A lot of times you're facing your opponent and you're not in a defensive position, you're actually looking to attack, but you don't want to just walk into one of his punches. So what we're going to do now is a couple of entry techniques that get you past his arms, strike points on the arms which will weaken the rest of his body and set up a knockout or another pressure point shot. If he's in his fighting stance, and he's not moving towards me, but I don't want to just walk in and have him hit me. Using my front hand, I'm going to use my back fist, and I'm going to strike the triple warmer 3-point by his pinky. So as I'm here, I'll flick it out. His hand opens, and it just gives him a little bit of pain. As soon as I make contact here, this hand is going to chop on the large intestine 10 and 11 points, which will help numb his arm, but it will also turn his body, setting up the gallbladder 20 point for the knockout. All right? So as he's here, I can't quite get inside. I knuckle, I hit, and I chop. Okay? Now, I hit him a little bit there, and he felt the effects of it. Hard shots, he would go immediately down. The key is to get the first 2 points very quickly so that I don't injure him. I'm not going to knuckle him anymore. I'm also not going to chop him. I'm going to slap and slap. And this is how you should practice it. So as I'm here, 1, 2, 3. Know that real situation, knuckle, chop, and chop. All right? So we'll do one more time just with the slaps. 1, 2, 3. By putting his arm across his body, it prevents him from punching with the other arm. So if I'm here, he can still punch me. Go back. Now punch me. He cannot. So just by crossing his arm, he cannot punch me for that instant. All right? So one more time. As we're here, as long as I can reach him, right? I can't reach his face, he can't reach my face. As long as I can reach his hand, I could gain entry. 1, 2, and strike. Now, the opposite is to go to the inside. Using the 4 knuckles, the same knuckles you would knock on a door with. We're going to hit either the pericardium point, 2 inches above the wrist, I'll show it on him, or the lung 8 or the heart 5 point. So you have 3 points in a row. You could hit any of them. And all we want to do is tap it, just like that. And we're going to follow that tap with a chop to either large intestine 18 on the side of the neck or stomach 9 on the front, depending on how much he turns his shoulders. So again, I can't reach him, he can't reach me, but I can easily reach his hand. Knuckle and move in for the strike. Ready? Turn this way. All right, so at a distance, we can't reach each other. Knuckle, move in, strike, and I can follow up right from there. Another entry technique that I like to use is to switch my hands. If I switch hands, if he's got really good reflexes, he's going to defend my punch. He's going to defend. As soon as he defends, that's when I throw my kick. So really, all I'm doing is switching my hands and kicking. But because he thinks I'm about to punch him, when I make that switch, he defends. As soon as he goes to defend that, he doesn't see what's coming below. And we strike to the points below the belly button. So we're here, I move around with him a little bit, I defend, and throw my kick. And that's how I gain my entry. All right? Defend, throw my kick. So these are 3 ways to get inside your opponent in an offensive manner. At the advanced level of martial arts, we start learning techniques that are a little different from the ordinary. One of them is the power slap, which is what we're going to do now. Sometimes it's referred to as the iron palm. A power slap is using the palm area to strike, but it's not using the palm heel like when we hit the jaw. It's using the center of the palm in a slapping motion. It's different from a slap in the sense that we're not hitting with the fingers. What we're trying to do is send a vibration through the person. So it's used best on areas such as the skull or across the chest, areas that are firm, as opposed to the stomach or the legs. The way we practice it, it's a completely relaxed technique, meaning that the wrist needs to move. It can't be stiff. So what we're going to do is, we need a partner for this. A partner will tell you whether you're doing it properly. If you just hold the target, you'll hear a loud sound, but you won't know. So we have the partner hold the target on his chest. Through the 3 inches of foam, if we can slap it and he can feel it, you know that you're doing it properly. So I'm going to have Dusan hold the target, and we're going to demonstrate it. What we want to do is loosen the wrist each time. Let's turn a little bit so they can see the wrist. Loosen the wrist and slap. A regular slap would be like that, would be nothing. From here, I'm going to turn my waist and imagine that I'm shooting energy through his body and out the other side. Of course, I'm not doing that, but if I keep that in my mind, my hand will do the proper thing. My focus area is the center of the palm, and it flexes on impact. So as I'm here, and you can see the look on his face through all that padding. Now, I didn't punch it, I didn't use knuckles, no hard surfaces. All it was a slap. This can be done laterally, or it could be done coming down in this motion. So again, we stay relaxed, and we throw the slap. Sometimes if you do it right, person starts coughing because it affects their lungs. A good example is if you do it to somebody and you slap their chest, they'll start coughing. So when people have a cough with babies, you slap their back. Same idea, you're sending a vibration through, shaking everything up. Usually we wouldn't be attacking to the chest, although at advanced levels you can actually attack the heart of the lungs with this technique. But it's most effective on a harder surface such as the skull. With the power slap, distance is not quite as important. If he's holding the target, if I come from a really big distance, I'll actually generate less power than if I come from short, which is good because in real situation, you can't come from back here and expect somebody to be there when you hit them. So basically what I do is I start here, and this is the maximum distance from the target that I want to be. I loosen my hand, and everything from power always comes from your hips. Never just stick your hand out. Always turn the waist. Even though we're striking with the palm, it's our entire body that's generating the power. Loose and fast. We're not pushing, we're not using muscles, it's more like a whipping motion. So as we're here, and you can see his whole body folds, he breathes out, you're basically knocking the wind out of him. If you did this without a target, it would be very dangerous. So whenever you practice, always through a target. And usually you want to practice with somebody your size. If you get a real small person, you still can do a lot of damage to them even with the target. So always be careful. Now, we know how to do the shot. Center of the palm, we come across. Where we hit is very important, so you can put that down. A number one target for this technique is 3 pressure points. Above the eyebrow, the corner of the eye, and the temple. So it's gallbladder 1, 3, and triple warmer 23. Names aren't that important, it's just important that you know where they are. So it's above the eyebrow, you're going to feel a little indent. That's 1 point. Right at the corner of the eye, there's another indent. That's 2 points. And the temple is 3. We want to hit it not with the heel, so just turn a little bit more, not with the heel, but a slapping motion. If you do it right, you'll hear this. So now, if your partner grabs you and you want out, you slap, you get a fantastic effect. Through experience, this particular point generally doesn't knock the person down, but it always does what it just did. It makes him turn, he starts blinking, he doesn't know where he is for a second. If I wanted to follow up with another strike, a throw, a choke, or if I just wanted to run, I would be able to do that. Of course, if I put more power into it, the effect would be much greater. So again, the first point is this triangle, triple warmer 23 above the eye, the temple, and the corner of the eye. Ready? Turn this way a little bit. And what I want is just like this. So I want to hit this in a slapping motion, like I want to take this eye and knock it to the opposite eye. So you have to have a visualization whenever you do it. So loose and slap. Another situation, if he was to grab and punch me, I would block the punch and shoot back to that spot immediately. If I wanted to do it off of a punching defense, if he threw a straight punch, I would block and shoot up from underneath. Immediately after contact, I can shoot to a choking technique. All right, so watch that one more time. Shoot up, boom, right into a choke, a one-arm choke. So hopefully the slap would drop him. If it didn't, I finish immediately with the choke. I stun him. Another way to do a similar move is to go over the arm and come back. So the last one we went under the arm. This one we block the wrist, the elbow, we bring it down a little and slap across. All right, a little bit faster. 1 and 2 coming across. So we have the triangle on the side of the eye. When we use the power slap, targets are very important. So we already covered the side targets on the corner of the eye. Now we're going to cover the forehead targets, some called the gallbladder cluster, which is gallbladders 13, 14, and 15. These 3 points lie above the eyebrow ridge. It's not on the eye, so it's above the bone, in the center of the eye, directly above it, and a few inches lateral. So if you follow his hairline, it's pretty much where the hair is. If you look at your own palm, you have a little hole here, a hole here, a hole here. So it forms a triangle. Your triangle is trying to go onto his triangle. When you match them up, you're hitting 3 points at once. It becomes very effective with that loose slapping motion. All right, so coming this way. So basically all we're doing is popping. We're here, boom. All right, not a hard shot, but you get a fantastic effect. And aside from a little red mark, in about 10 minutes, there'll be no evidence you ever struck him. So you can knock him down, knock him out, and not actually injure somebody, which is good, because if you could avoid hurting somebody and still defend yourself, it's always that much better. How you would use this would be against any type of a grab. You could shoot out immediately. We can combine it with other pressure points like the large intestine points on the arm and go for the shot. If he was punching us, we can move in and hit simultaneously. Okay, basically anything that you could think of. If he threw a roundhouse kick, we could catch it and shoot for that spot, helping us bring him to the ground. So we have the gallbladder cluster above the eye, in the hairline, and lateral. Same slapping motion that we hit the target with. All right, the next target for the power slap is along the jawline. There are a lot of pressure points here, and you can't specifically hit one or the other with this technique, but you'll get a bunch of them, so we'll just cover what the possibilities are. The main one we're after is the stomach 5-point. If you make a line from the corner of his eye down to his jaw, underneath it, that's the first point we're going for. The next point is the small intestine 17-point, which is between his jaw and his neck, right in the neck muscle here. You press it, very painful. The third point you could possibly hit would be behind the jaw, the triple warmer 17. And the fourth point could be the gallbladder 20, the fingers wrap around. All you really need to do, to simplify it, is put your hand on his jaw. Try not to hit his ear, because all it'll do is hurt his ear, but not have an effect. Slap, just like that. So you had your choice before of going up here, coming to the side. All right, we're going to try this one. As we're here, slapping underneath the jaw. You could hear and see his reaction. I would say I hit him that hard. If you go back and you see how hard we were actually hitting the shield, imagine applying that force to the point that we just did. He would be unconscious or at the very least on the floor. So again, I'm not going to hit him again, but we slap under the jaw like we want it to come out this side. We don't slap across, slightly up and in. And we're aiming along the jaw ridge and into the neck. We're trying to get as many points as we can in a quick shot. The applications would be very similar. If he punched, we could bring it down, slap across. If he grabbed and punched, we can block, slap across. If he was just grabbing us, right, we can escape from the grab and slap across. Always remember whipping motion and aim for the target. As we get more and more advanced, we want to condense our striking area to make it smaller and smaller. Meaning, a palm strike is a very large area. If we focus 2 knuckles, it becomes smaller. But if we could focus it to 1 knuckle or fingertips, we become much more damaging. The problem with this is, number one, we need a little bit of conditioning, a little bit of hand strength to be able to do this position. But more importantly, number two, we need to be more accurate. Hopefully, as you get more advanced, your accuracy will increase and you'll be able to take advantage of these techniques. One of the advantages in using them, aside from the smaller surface area, is I can do a lot of damage over a short distance. If I face Dusan and I decide I want to strike him from here, pretty much anybody can knock him out there. But if I'm in very close and I need to hit him in a short range, that chop might not be so effective. But if I could use a small weapon, the index finger, the center finger, the thumb, or even the fingertips, I could generate enough force over a short distance to be able to use my technique and do damage to him, even though I don't have all the wind-up that I would have liked. So the first one we're going to do is the index knuckle. Usually, we'll use this one if we're going to punch in a downward motion. So we put our thumb on top to give it support, and we go in and slightly down. The targets for this, the best target is the mental nerve, the little hole in the corner of the jaw where the mustache comes down. So over here and over here. And basically, we want to just place it in and down. Even that little tap he felt, if I would extend my hand, he'd probably be picking it up from the ground. Extending down, okay? Another target area that we can use with a small weapon is we can actually go to the torso, which we usually don't do. The reason we don't do that is if I punch him in the chest, he's got enough muscle that he can protect it. All right, switch one more time. But if he grabs me and I use a small weapon and I come to the stomach 15 point, which is in the center of his chest, I get a really big effect from that. Where if I would have punched him, he would have just felt it and stood there. So focusing to the chest area, if I use a small weapon, I can bring him right down. Another spot that I really like to hit is we find where his shoulder is and the line where his arm lifts. There's a hollow pocket where we have 1, 2, 3 points. We have lung 1 and 2, and we also have a spleen point. We're interested in the top ones. The knuckle will fit directly in there. So if he's grabbed me and for some reason I need him to turn, maybe to expose a back point, I'll shoot a knuckle into that point, which will set up getting behind him. So I don't need a lot of wind up. I'm here, I just shoot it in, and I'm behind him instantly. The advantage in this also is, if he's grabbed me here, where's he punching me? This hand. If I'm striking into this region, when he goes to punch, it's going to stop it instantly and allow me to follow up with another technique. So anytime I go down, I use this knuckle. If I need to strike in an upward motion, let's say under the cheekbone, we extend the center knuckle and we twist in and up. So now when he grabs, I cannot show you this. I can show it to you, but I can't do it to him because this one will be very painful. We put it in, twisting, and we strike under the cheekbone. And you'll get a very quick knockout like this. But you'll also get a lot of bruising. You may damage his teeth. In and up, we're going into the small intestine 18 point under the cheekbone. So he grabs, and we shoot in. Another upward target that we can use is the small intestine 17 point, which is in the corner between the jaw and the neck. We can use the middle knuckle, same way, by applying pressure, or we could even use the fingertips because it's so soft in the neck region. Once we go into the neck region, we can use fingertip strikes because the neck is so soft that most people's fingers will go in there without too much conditioning. If he throws a punch, I can still go for the small intestine 17 point, or we can go for the stomach 9 point, opposite the Adam's apple, shooting in. Almost every system of karate I've ever seen has a technique that does this. And what you're doing is when he attacks, you're striking into that point because it's very effective and requires very little force. So we can use fingertips here, we can squeeze, we can hit. This is a very important point, the stomach 9 point. The last fingertip point that I really like to use is the center of the neck, CV22. When you strike this point, it requires no force to get an effect. If your opponent's grabbing you, we shoot in, he's coughing, he's uncomfortable, he's immediately off of you. If we would try to punch in that region, we wouldn't get in there because it's a little hole, but the fingers fit right in. Whether you're doing it from a distance or if you're in close and you just squeeze into there, small hand weapons will fit into this area. If you wanted to do a little more damage, we can put one of the knuckles and actually strike into that spot. But most times that wouldn't be necessary. The fingertips alone will do the work. The next advanced pressure point technique we're going to cover is going to be the leopard's fist, which is basically, instead of a regular fist, it's half a fist. And most of the striking surface is on the middle knuckle, but the others are there to support it. This is a good compromise between a full fist and a single knuckle. It has more power, physical power, than the single knuckle, but it has less surface area than the full fist. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Also, it gives you an extra 3 or 4 inches of reach, as opposed to if you were punching, it gives you that much more distance on your opponent. When we strike here, we strike to the neck and we strike to the rib and the cheekbone area. This can be done in a downward motion or in an upward motion. So it's a pretty versatile technique. It can even be done on an angle as if coming into the neck. First technique we're going to do is one of my favorites. We're going to strike the rib cage. We find where the armpit is, directly below that first rib is a point called gallbladder 26. You find that you will know you're on it because it's very painful. All you have to do is touch it and the person's going to react. He throws his straight punch, we slip to the outside, and we just tap onto that spot. Now all I did was this. If you came in with a shot like that, he'd be on the floor unable to breathe. It's a very effective technique and it can be used in motion. So as he comes in, we shoot it in real quick and we strike. In slow motion, all we're doing is defending and the other hand shoots straight in onto the point. Usually as he starts to move away, I'll circle the arm and bring him back, allowing me to follow up to gallbladder 20 in the back of the neck, or to control his jaw and twist his neck. Okay? No good to knock him away and then not be able to follow up, because if you didn't finish him, you're going to have to run and catch him. So it's better to keep hold of him. So as he comes in, we strike, we come onto the lung 5 point, we bring him down, we either finish him or lock him and take him out. Second target for this motion is to come in to the neck region, into the stomach 9 point. If he was to grab, all we would do is turn your neck that way and flex that muscle. This muscle here, we just want this to fit in front of it. So as he's facing me, we just shoot it in. So our hand is held on the exact angle that the muscle comes down. So let's turn this way a little bit so we can see a little bit better. The muscle comes down this way, and we just shoot this right into the point, nice and quick, just like that. So person grabs, shoot, right onto the point. This is a technique that should never be practiced with force. Don't attempt a knockout with this technique. Anytime you use small hands and you come into the neck, you got to control your force because you're penetrating much deeper than if, let's say, you were chopping or using a palm. And you can do serious damage. You have veins, arteries, nerves, all kinds of structures floating around in there that you don't want to damage. So small techniques, we got to practice slow. We use them mostly in life-threatening situations. Third technique that we can do, using the heart 3-point on the inside of his elbow between his bicep and tricep. We squeeze, he feels it. When he throws his punch, we shoot the knuckle almost like a hook into that point to paralyze his arm. Immediately after that, that arm is useless. He'll pretty much freeze in that spot for a second and will allow you a follow-up shot. So as he comes in with his punch, we strike, we can grab the arm, same things, hit here, twist his neck, use our legs, whatever you want, that's up to you. Switch, straight punch. All right, so he comes in again, one, strike underneath into that point, almost like an uppercut. Once you get that, we can follow up immediately. But you can be pretty sure that this arm is going to be useless. Just by squeezing it, it's very painful. You dig a knuckle in there, he may not feel his arm for hours. You're going to do a lot of damage, so let's be careful with that one. Third point that we go for is the hollow, right here. CV22. This could be a life-threatening technique, so be careful with it. From any position, pretty much, we just shoot straight in with all our force. If we did fingertips, we would do a lot of damage. He'd cough and fall down, but our fingers would start to give out, which would limit the amount of damage we can do. When we use these knuckles, we're going to go completely through him, crushing everything in its way. So it's a very deadly technique. Generally, when your life is threatened, it would be the only time appropriate to use this hand position for this technique. Somebody was to ask me what's the surest way to kill somebody or do a lot of damage, this would be it. This is the way that I'm confident 100% if I hit you there, I'm going to do serious damage. Okay, the next point we're going to cover is the cheekbones again, the small intestine 18 points. Instead of targeting it this way, we're going to rotate the hand, just like an uppercut, but using the knuckles. So if he threw a punch, I move to the outside, I would shoot the knuckles in and underneath the cheekbone. If he was to grab me and pull me in close, in and under the cheekbone. It will be a short jab, snapping his head backwards. When we pick points to strike, especially at an advanced level, we need to pick points that are going to control where his body moves. There's a simple way to learn that. Feet together. Anything above his chest, whether you hit a point or not, is going to force him to step backwards. So if I hit him here, he's got to step back. He has no choice. The reason he has no choice is when my arm extends, he's not going to be there anymore. He can't fight that. Come back. Anything below his solar plexus or his chest, when I hit him, he's going to bend forward. Same idea. I'm pushing this part of his body back. How far he bends forward depends on how hard I hit him and where I hit him. If I hit him in his stomach, he'll bend a little. If I come to his bladder or groin, he'll bend a lot more. If I hit him, I find his center line. If I hit him on this side of the center line, this side will go backwards. So before, when he grabbed and I wanted to turn him, I did a single knuckle strike to the lung 1 point, which turned him sideways. So now, we're above the center line and we're on this side. So he's going to step back with that foot and turn. Come back. If I want him to step back with this foot, I'll hit him on this side. Come back. If I want him to bend forward and step back a little, I'll hit him in that rib. So on and so forth. So when I choose points to strike, I'm not worried so much about where I'm hitting, I'm worried about where he's going to be. I'll give you another example. If he throws a straight punch and I slap him into his bladder points, my next move can't go up here. It doesn't make sense, he won't be there. So I have to make sure that if I hit his bladder point, my next move comes down or comes into his kidney area. Where I move and where I go is dependent on my previous technique, so I always have to think one step ahead. If I decide that he punches and I hit him in the throat, I can't hit him with my hand again. So that move will always be followed by a front kick. So if he's here and he punches, if I hit him in the throat, the next move is always a front kick. When I throw that low front kick, that brings his head down, allowing me to twist it or to strike it. These theories are 100% because as long as you're striking, you're going to get that reaction. And if you're hitting a pressure point, it's going to be even more of a reaction because the pain will be more, it'll be more intense, and it will be quick. How long the person stays there depends on how much damage you do. If I just kind of flick him there, he'll go and come back up. If I really hit him hard, he'll just kind of stay there. You ever see a fighter gets his rib broken, he's constantly like this because it just hurts so much that he's protecting it. So keep that in mind. Another fighting theory, advanced level, is that wherever you hit, the person's hands will generally go. If I go for his eyes, he's going to go back and his hands will go up. So if I'm looking for a low shot, I'll go up high and then I'll attack low. That's how the switching hands techniques work. I switched hands, he went to defend it, and I came low. Or I can reverse it. I could come low as he goes to defend it. I could shoot high with a power slap to his forehead. So these are all strategies that need to be practiced in freestyle till you get comfortable with it, so that you know every time you hit somebody where their body's going to be for the next shot. If you know where they're going to be before they get there, you are a step ahead of them and you're going to appear like lightning quick to them. Hi, I hope everybody enjoyed this program on advanced pressure point fighting. Key thing to remember about pressure points is they're a small part of the equation. An important part, but a small part. It's important that you learn to put them together with your punching, your kicking, and your throwing, which is what we've tried to show you before. If anybody has any further questions or is looking for an instructor in their area, or he just needs any help, please feel free to contact me through my email address or telephone number, which will appear at the end of this program. Thank you and enjoy your training.